What if Catalina didn't betray Claude during the opening cutscene of GTA 3? This is a question that's been in the back of my mind for some time now, as this would make massive changes to the plot, at least in the beginning part of the game. And there's obviously more than one way things could develop into. And what better way to start a discussion on this than make a dedicated video? The story GTA 3 is trying to tell is that of a revenge one, with Claude working his way up Liberty City's criminal underworld to get both money, but also to get back at Catalina for betraying and leaving him to die. The reasons for Catalina's betrayal to the protagonist aren't all that mysterious and hard to figure out. Her and Claude's relationship might have started on a rather weird and romantic path back in 1992, but it soon became much like what her and CJ had during their final encounters, a purely business relationship, or rather a partnership. Getting involved with the Colombian cartel and beginning to take much bigger scores than ever before, seeing as we rob Liberty City's biggest bank in the intro cutscene, Catalina decided it's best to cut Claude loose and get rid of him, as he is just small time. And so she shoots both Claude and the unnamed Colombian cartel member who's also with us during the escape, keeping all the money for herself and Miguel, her new business partner, using it to start and quickly expand one of the most evil and destructive ventures in all of Liberty City, the Spank operation. For those who don't know, Spank is the name used for what is supposedly a mixture of coke and meth, which is highly addictive, obviously, and can turn people rather insane, as seen in the Mission Kingdom Come for King Courtney. That is quite a string of words. Fortunately, for the people of Liberty City, by the end of the game, we work alongside Asuka, who's part of the Yakuza, and therefore enemies with the cartel and all other gangs in the city, to put an end to this operation, by destroying multiple espresso stands spread across the city, who act as fronts for pushing product. Then setting up ambushes to eliminate hitmen who are after Claude, and even destroying shipments before they arrive in the city. And then put an end to the cartel almost entirely by getting rid of Catalina herself. But what if instead of Catalina cutting us loose, have us left for dead, arrested, and forced to work for all gangs in the city to get us started, we instead escape with our life and freedom alongside her and Miguel and continue to assist the cartel in expanding their operations across the city. Well, it's no surprise to anyone that the cartel would have likely succeeded to fully take over the city and plague it with Spank, as having the menace himself, Claude, involved and actively work with Catalina would most likely result in destroying every gang that's rivaling us, and in turn, change the theme of the story from a classic revenge arc to a much darker and evil story, where it would be safe to call us, or rather the protagonist Claude, the most evil out of them all. Sure, someone else from the same city, namely Tony Cipriani, has done a number of very diabolical things, like actively being involved in blowing up an entire neighborhood at the orders of Donald Love, which is just, yeah. From the point of absolute dominance in the city, which could be somewhere during the midway point of the game, there are a few scenarios that could likely happen. So as for the game to give us an antagonist and not just be a business tycoon simulator. Firstly, let's be a tad bit realistic here. As much as we'd all love having Catalina as an ally / mission giver all the way to the end, instead of getting betrayed by her right at the start, isn't really that plausible, as she's pretty much shown multiple times to be a backstabber and would double cross anybody, no matter who they are, if it's to save her own skin, or just get away with something. I mean, she left Miguel and quite literally backstabbed or backshot him the second her life was in danger. So for her and the protagonist to get a Bonnie and Clyde, or rather Catalina and Claude happy ending, isn't the most likely scenario. However, by the looks of it, and I can't hesitate to mention it, this is most likely what GTA 6's story is going to give us. But let's not deviate too much. I think in this hypothetical scenario, seeing the massive success of her operation and not willing to split the revenue 3 ways with Miguel and Claude, this is probably the point where she sets the both of us in a trap to have us killed. And it could be that either both the protagonist and Miguel get away safely with their lives, or only Miguel gets killed so as to set up a revenge arc for him, but only from the second half of the game onwards. Now, don't get me wrong, Miguel is a slimeball and not really the type of guy I would see happily working alongside Claude, but maybe this betrayal point would make him see some sense, and decide to join forces with us to get revenge on Catalina. This is by far my absolute favorite fan theory, and it doesn't even have to remove all the characters we work with in the beginning, like 8-Ball, Luigi, and even the ones we meet in the later half of the game, like Asuka, Kenji, and Rei. We could work with them for money, as we would probably lose it in the ambush somehow, but also for information on Catalina's whereabouts and her plans, piecing it all one by one and steadily building a plan for revenge. So basically working with people Claude wouldn't necessarily meet by his own desire. This reminds me a lot of John Marston's story from Red Dead Redemption 1, where in his circumstances, he's forced to hunt down his former gang members, and he's ultimately also forced to work with people he would never interact by his own will. Because, let's be real, some of the people you meet in the game are a tad bit far gone. So again, just like in the actual story, we could just end up working for basically every gang in the city and risking our necks big time, just so we could find a way to get back at Catalina. I'm not sure how and if we would also end up meeting Maria, then get her in trouble because of our affiliation, and ultimately end up needing to save her. But seeing as she grew more and more tired of Salvatore, there is a chance we could possibly cross paths with her and use her help to get more connections in the city. So instead of the betrayal arc happening right at the start, I think it's very likely that even if it weren't to happen during the introduction, it would eventually happen anyway. After us, the protagonist, no longer serve Catalina any purpose. Again, the likelihood of her not betraying us at all, considering her motivations, ambition, and generally her moral compass or lack thereof, is slim to none. Now, let's say that the impossible did happen and she did remain loyal to us for some unknown reason, who would be the main antagonist then? And is there even any other good candidate for that role besides Catalina? Well, the only other possible candidate, and the one that would also make a decent amount of sense, is Miguel, who, like I've stated previously, is almost as likely to backstab and seek total control of the cartel's operations, just like Catalina. So theoretically, if us and Catalina remain on very good and prosperous terms all the way throughout the game, there's a decent chance that Miguel could end up plotting against us so as to keep everything for himself. Honestly, that would be very forced, and calling this even an okay plot to replace the one we got in the actual game would be an insult to it. However, you may know a way for it to make sense, so I'll leave it up to you to write your own scenario in the comments section. Personally, if it were by me, I'd like to see a plot where us and Miguel join forces and put our differences aside to pursue a common goal, at least for however long it would take to bring Catalina down. That is one of my absolute favorite themes in gaming. Think Arthur and Micah during their encounters in Chapter 2, especially their stagecoach robberies. And if that were to be the dynamic between them, a sneaky little betrayal right at the end from him, or even him becoming a rat, wouldn't be out of the question neither. But we got that in GTA Vice City, so it would just be a repeat. For some reason, I keep thinking of Lucia and Jason to be a modern version of Catalina and Claude, and I can't really tell why. Maybe there will be a few similarities between the two pairs, but we'll have to see. I honestly think that the game is fine just the way it is, and the plot we got is also perfectly fitting. And again, no matter how you twist and turn it, all roads, or rather all plot points, lead to the same ending, and that's a good thing. However, a bit of speculation and fan theory never hurt anybody. How would you imagine a hypothetical scenario where we escape with the money during the intro and remain on Catalina's side? How would that affect things in Liberty City, and would it even be a good plot? I'm really curious to hear your thoughts, so let me know in the comment section down below. And while you're there, also leave a like. And of course, consider subscribing if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching.